Is when I was pregnant with my oldest son, and I found myself still getting loaded.
Completely insane, and that's when I realized that I had gone so far out of my mind that I was no longer welcome in my own home.
I was ashamed every day for 8 years and had to do a lot of things I didn't want to do to fund teenage heroin addiction.
I was living in an abandoned house out in the Richmond on 42nd Avenue by myself. And it was pretty bad. A lot of my teeth were rotting out. I was in a lot of pain constantly from the crystal meth. I smoked crystal meth, so it affected my teeth badly.
I started drinking at 9. I started smoking dope at 10. I stuck my first needle in my arm at 11 years old, shooting speed. By the time I was 14, I was a full-blown heroin addict. So from 14 until 21, I was in and out of, the juvenile system. At 18 years old, I cleaned up for a minute, got married, and on my son's day of his birth, I partied by shooting dope again.
I was never home. My thing was to chase crack, and that's what I did.
I stole from everybody I knew, my friends, my parents. I kept overdosing, going to the hospital. I kept going to jail. I kept losing jobs, lost every job I ever had, dropped out of high school, never finished anything. I had turned a lot of people onto heroin, a lot of my friends and stuff, and some of those people started dying.
I wasn't able to stay clean unless I was locked up. That was the only way I could think, if I'm locked up, I can't get to the dope.
My mother was an addict. I come from a family of addiction. My mother was incarcerated on and off throughout my life.
And I grew up, both of my parents were addicted. So it was a cycle, and I wanted to be that change and break that cycle.
Walden House means integrity to me, that you don't have to be ashamed anymore of yourself and your behavior. You've learned how to take responsibility for it and be a person of honor, and that's been really important for me.
Walden House means to me opportunity for the clients, for the staff, for change.
Enlightening and fulfilling.
It's people who have worked their way up from nothing, and then you have some people that have their doctorates and their masters, and everybody. It's a big melting pot of a little bit of everybody.
Eye-opening, humbling,
Challenging at times, but well worth it.
Day that goes by, it's another day clean and sober. I'm becoming the woman that I knew I could be without drugs.
It was a place that let you be you. I walked in and it didn't matter what color I was, it didn't matter how young I was, it didn't matter what kind of drugs I used. There were people who really cared about everybody, and that was the thing that fascinated me about being in the program. I was able to talk about my issues that I had as a kid, growing up, my substance abuse, and I was able to talk through those issues. What was then is the same today. I believe that what I learned coming into Walden House in 1974, that it was a magical place, and it still is.
My world was so small in the grips of my addiction, and since I've been clean, it's like, the job I have now today, the responsibility I have, the friends I have.
and I'm an independent person now that can take care of himself and not have to rely on society or the government or, you know, my parents to like take care of me.
Having this kid say that he wanted to come and live with me, could I be his foster parent? I think that was I mean, it brought tears to my eyes that this kid respected and cared that much about me and felt like I would care that much for him, that he wanted to actually come and live with me.
I love music, and I play in 3 groups. I've recorded 5 albums. I've played at many of the major venues in San Francisco, such as the Yoshi's, the Great American Music Hall.
I've made lots of art. You know, I've published short stories in good magazines. I've made films and had a lot of fun. I didn't know what that was without drugs and alcohol.
People wonder, have me and her always been best friends? It's like, no. I was one of those teenagers, or in my addiction and in her addiction, we couldn't stand each other. But through the process of recovery and working together and really, you know, working on your recovery, you begin to grow and you have a new relationship, a newfound relationship. And it's actually the best relationship that I could ever have with my mom.
I had my parents, I grew up on the East Coast outside of Philadelphia, and my parents are there to this day, and it was just shy of 10 years where I hadn't spoken to them, called them. They didn't know if I was dead or alive. So part of the recovery process was to reunify with them, and you know, it was pretty incredible, I know, for them to know that I was alive, because they thought I was dead, you know, so.